This is Community Unveiled, meeting the secret validators. On this podcast and YouTube series, we are here to allow the secret community to have a personal connection and insight into the validators that support the secret network. Here at Secure Secrets, we value community, privacy as a human right, transparency as the key to unlocking the full value of a decentralized community, and finally, continuous growth through teamwork and collaboration. I'm Carter Lee Wetzel with Secure Secrets, your host. Without further ado, let's meet our guest. All right, guys, this is Sandy on the show today with episode number 2. Stake or Die is the name of your validator, but Sandy, we kind of want to know about you. So in your own words, who are you personally, professionally in 30 seconds?
I'm sort of a self-taught developer by way of going to college for creative writing and philosophy. And then in 2009, my brother and I started a clothing brand called The Hillside that we ran for 10 years. It's still run. It's still going. You can find it online. And in 2 years ago, we both sort of moved. I'm sorry. I'm signaling my wife to be. You can walk by if you want. Here,
she can wave if she wants.
So you can
come
say
hello.
hi to the dog. This is
Hey.
Mochathon, and this is Risa.
Nice to meet you, Risa.
This is some COVID style work.
Oh, for sure.
Where was I? So 2 years ago, our company ran into a little bit of financial trouble. So I took my brother and I both took a job with a company in LA that does merchandise for sort of people with large social following and to build websites and design clothing and that kind of thing. And so I was brought on as director of technology, and it was sort of around 2017. I was on sort of everything was winding down. I was focusing a lot on crypto, but mostly Enigma.
Sure.
At the time. It was like the one I identified as like, this is the truth. And then I sort of put everything away and focused on this new job. And then COVID hit, and I found myself at home all the time and sitting there working.
With most of us, yep.
Yeah, and then I started getting alerts that the price had gone down to 8 cents, and everyone was freaking out. And I thought, okay, let me check and see what's going on with this. And I started to look into it more and more, and learned about Cosmos. And then, it was I reached out to Ian, who's Ian and Tor, and sort of asked them some really difficult questions that they were happy to answer about what the hell was going on. And it turned out it was like the opportunity was obviously better than it had ever been.
Sure.
Because the project was more legitimate than it had ever been. Or it had always been legitimate, but it was in a better place than it had been, but
Sure.
The market thought it was in a bad place. So that seemed like opportunity. So I thought, I'm going to dive back into this. That's me.
That's a heck of a journey. I mean, I would say just from your initial collegiate background and, the entrepreneurship you've done, and then to finally kind of arrive in the kind of blockchain and crypto space. So you said that Enigma initially was the one that you identified as like, that's the truth. Like that seems something legit. So what brought you to the secret network? Like, what was that process of finding this project and being like, yeah, this is something I'm going to actually invest my time into, that I'm going to track as an investment. And now here you are as a validator, actively contributing to the ecosystem itself.
Yeah. Well, I think it was, I'm going to say something. I hope I don't get my dates wrong, because if I say something before Bitcoin existed, I'm going to sound stupid, but I don't think so. I think it was about 2010. So I got started with my company. I built the e-commerce site. These were the days before Shopify, or Shopify existed, but it wasn't very good. And I just built my entire the site, PHP, MySQL, jQuery. Built a website, built the shopping cart, the fulfillment system, everything.
Which was significantly harder then than it is now, I would imagine.
Yeah, it was challenging. I mean, dealing with authorized.net and, actually working with UPS to get to connect to their API for shipping and things like that. It was difficult. So I was getting like out of nowhere, I was teaching myself and getting super interested in technology. And a friend of mine who's worked in finance told me about Bitcoin. I think it was 2010 or something. And I immediately thought I want to accept that. And I tried, and I think at one point I was accepting it on our site, but no one was using it. No one was buying it.
So you wanted to integrate it. You weren't necessarily like investing into Bitcoin at this point. It was more so like,
yeah. I mean, at this point, I was running a company. I couldn't really justify taking any money and doing anything besides putting it. Yeah. So around this time, I wanted to invest, but first of all, it was really difficult back then. I don't know. It's a lot of these the way people see these things in hindsight was like, oh yeah, I should have. It wasn't easy to buy Bitcoin back then. And
onboarding was way more difficult than it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember so then anyway, long story short, I told a few friends about it, and one of them basically immediately quit the hedge fund he was working in finance and started investing in it and doing it full time and researching. And he's since he's just minted now. But I mean, at the time I was like, okay, how do I buy Bitcoin? You know? And he was like, well, you know, I was like, I found this thing called Coinbase. Should I use that? He's like, don't do it. I don't trust it. They're not certified yet. No, you know, you can't, you know, things like that. It's
right.
like all these missed opportunities, I guess you could say. So fast forward to 2013, 14, whenever it was that the Ethereum was just, they were announcing themselves to the world and announcing first token sale and stuff like that. I reached out to another friend of mine and said, like, you know, having missed the boat with Bitcoin, I was like, let's do this. He's like, nah, you shouldn't do that. It's inflationary. It's not gonna be worth anything. Don't worry. So I was like, okay, cool. And then I found out later that he actually bought like 5,000 in the token sale.
Oh gosh.
Of them. But then he has his own bad story about that, where he sold way too early, like at $20 or something like that. Anyway, so I had 2017 comes around, and my company had been, you know, we ran into a lot of financial troubles. The clothing industry transformed rapidly. And these things happen kind of in exponential ways where, you know, it starts out, you can see trends, but then they happen very fast. And my company, we were big, we had made neckwear mostly, and we were selling to 200 stores worldwide. J. Crew was one of our biggest accounts. You know, we thought we were, you know, 2 million a year or something like that in sales. We thought we were going to be at 10 million in a year or two. And we were growing, but the market was shrinking under our feet. We didn't notice it. Yeah. So wholesale was dying, and e-commerce was becoming bigger and bigger, and we weren't investing in advertising or any of the online stuff. We thought we have to get into 500 stores worldwide. We have to be doing, you know, we were just taking an old playbook and succeeding at it, but the playbook was no longer relevant. So so it was all that stuff had happened and was surrounding me, and I just started looking out and saying, like, there has to be a new future. Let me find it, and this time I'm going to get involved. And so I looked at a lot of different projects, invested in some dumb ones to begin with, you know, just thinking like this is, and then Enigma was just sort of seemed like it seemed almost too obvious. You know what I mean? Like it was complicated, right? And multi-party computation is a hard sort of thing to wrap your head around. But the second you get it, it's like, I understand. Okay. And I did that. And then, so I invested a small amount, you know, but it went up, and I was thinking, this is great. And at the time I was thinking, like, I need to get enough so I can be a node. At the time there was talk about master nodes. How much are you going to need?
The min max. For that.
Yeah. And so then, you know, I took this job, I moved here, crypto sort of fell, you know, the winter or whatever people talking about. So, lost the plot, but kept my tokens. And then, like I said, I found out about it and started asking questions, and I realized what was going on. And then it just became a challenge, and I was thinking, yeah, let's see if I can get a validator running.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing, because I think there's so many stories out there of people like you that have, where, you know, there's missed opportunities along the way. There's opportunities along the way that we miss, and yet we're still pulled to the technology. We're still pulled to the potential of what could be. even after, you know, the 2017, 2018 market that we've seen.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like this renewal of interest, and people are saying, okay, where are people actually building stuff? Like where is the actual progress being made with real developers? None of this marketing vaporware stuff. Where is their actual progress?
Yeah, that's right. And I want to make it clear, I'm not at this point, it's moved well beyond like, let me just see how much money I can make,
Totally. Yeah.
In fact, my big thing is about the apps, the applications for it. And that's what attracted me to Enigma also. It was,
sure.
Thinking about, the where I see Secret Network going and
Sure.
the way to get there. And I see, it used to be in my head, there was the applications where you needed decentralization and you needed blockchain.
Yep.
Those two aren't the same, but a lot of the time they have been. So and then there are applications where you just don't need to make it decentralized. It would be nice, but in a lot of the cases, it's just, the adoption is just not going to be there because it's more difficult, it's slower, it's more expensive, etc. And then there are applications that I think is what needs to happen on Secret Network. That is what's really exciting to me, where you might as well decentralize it, and you don't even really care whether the person knows or not, because it's an interesting opportunity. And I think Secret Network has a lot of that type of application where you can see this is something where you get the same functionality or equal to another service that's centralized, but you have it decentralized, and you're safe, and your stuff, what you're doing is secure. The secrets are kept secret, and you're getting value at the same time. It's
right.
So anyway, that's a inarticulate way of saying that's what's exciting to me at the moment. It's sort of stopped being about the money in a lot of ways, although
sure.
I'm still thinking about that from as a business person, I guess.
I think it's interesting you say the idea of like, people are like, let's decentralize it no matter what. And it's like, okay, like the value prop for a lot of things actually isn't contingent upon it necessarily being decentralized. Like it's a big part of blockchain, but I think that's a big thing that the Secret Network has to overcome is the idea of like privacy. People don't necessarily see that there's real economical value in privacy, that there's a whole host of applications that will not be possible until privacy is there, that there'll be enterprise applications that cannot exist with blockchain until there's encrypted state, encrypted input, encrypted output. Till that's like fully into the system, there's a lot of players that will never even touch the current system of blockchain because it's all publicly visible. So I'm super curious to see how the network evolves and pushes beyond the idea of, because privacy as a human right is one thing. The foundation has kind of said that's something we believe in. I'm really curious to see if there's also going to be another piece of the narrative where we say, privacy is a human right, but privacy is also valuable for very big players. So I think just the fact that you mentioned that, because it seems like, Sandy, correct me if I'm wrong, you seem more passionate perhaps about the applications of the network than like being like this massive validator. Like for you, it's the excitement of the whole ecosystem and what's possible as a whole. Yeah. And that's not to detract from you as a validator at all. I think that's really awesome that you've chosen in that way.
Yeah. I like to put it this way. Being a validator is my way of being in the game. Like I want to be in the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it might become big. I'm hoping to build things that people see value in. And I'm hoping that people want to reward my validator for that. I've also learned so much about hardware technology, learned more than I actually thought I could learn. Like and which is recently I was on during testnet, I instructed someone on how to set up a validator, and I was like teaching him Linux, and like the idea that I would be able to do, so there's a huge element of learning. It's not cheap to run a validator. I'm definitely not making money.
Not with SGX.
Right. But it's so worth it for me in so many different ways. So that's kind of the way I think about that. But so what gets me excited, like I said, that's me staying in the game. And then what is the game is sort of the question. And that's where I'm looking to find those use cases where, I'm looking for the things that are that just add value in and of themselves, but then you layer on top this component and you see how that is the scalability. I think, Guy has been saying this since 2017, like, in order for blockchain to scale, we need privacy,
Yep.
and that will provide scalability. And I didn't even get it, I don't think, until kind of recently,
Right.
what he meant by that. And once you get that, you start seeing it and you're kind of like, okay, I get how this is, how this could really change the game when it comes to DeFi, obviously, but all sorts of other use cases where people just, it's one thing for people to go online and say, I'm going to give a corporation all my data, because they still don't really think, the data is not that important. What do I have to hide?
Sure.
That's what they're thinking, that kind of thing. And they are believing that company that they're not going to be sharing it with other people, saying, here, check this out. When I go online and when I sign up with mint.com or something like that, I don't think anyone's going to get to see my bank account, right? I imagine this could get hacked, but even that's a little bit nebulous, that kind of thing. But what about the use cases where you actually want to share that information, but you want to share it in a way where you're not putting yourself at risk,
right.
But sharing it makes the whole thing, takes it to a new level where now you can get insight that was never
right.
possible. That's where I think we're going to see things that are really interesting. And I think it has to start small. It has to be applications that are easy to use, that people
like
just feel like
padlocks of the world that are just like,
this is a simple thing. This is fun. This is useful. I could use this without it being this way, but then you sort of see then the potential will dawn on them. So.
Well, I think that's so, the fact that you've, brought back up Guy's idea of, in order to have scalability, you have to have privacy. I think that truly is profound. Like, if you really stop and think about it, same thing. I think it took me a year or two as well to be able to kind of understand the significance of a statement like that.
Right.
So, Sandy, thank you for sharing your vision just for the network as a whole. I want to dive into like one or two validator questions, and then we can kind of wrap things up.
For sure.
So what are the biggest challenges a small validator such as yourself kind of has encountered as a whole?
I mean, at first it was getting enough that I knew I would stay in the top 50 or whatever it's going to be,
Sure.
That at first it was, and at first it was, do I actually want someone to delegate to me? Because, if I go offline, what I mean? I kind of wasn't ready.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I've been pretty hesitant to go out and solicit, too much for people to come, because I want to make sure my systems sound before that happens. And so I'm working pretty hard at that. And like I said, I've learned a ton. But that's a big challenge. This XGX thing has been challenging, but it's also been sort of interesting and illuminating. So, and I think we've come, I found a pretty good solution today to that I'm going to be making public or writing to all the different validators. So I think we're going to be okay there. But yeah, I guess I got one big stake. I don't know. In fact, Mohammed and I were talking early on because we were really close to each other in the beginning. He started getting some people to get delegated. He got past me, 10,000
Yep.
at that point, right? And then I wrote a post about how do small delegators need to get more, how do small validators get more, because we need it to not just be in the hands of one or two people.
Right, exactly.
And I think that got someone's attention, and they delegated a big stake to me. And then it was like, okay, now this is serious. I can actually do this. So I think that I'm waiting till I feel really comfortable to sort of go out there and start saying, come delegate with me.
Sure.
But I think it's going to be soon, and then I'll see. I don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
I know you guys have been really good. I think the way you've approached it is really interesting, which is to say, I'm going to add value in the documentation, which has been amazing. And now in the, making videos and putting yourselves out there. It's admirable, for sure.
I mean, I think it's really important, like as a whole. I was about to ask, like, what's your greatest concern for the secret network? But I feel like at this point, most small validators, it's like, yeah, that we properly decentralize the network. It's kind of the obvious answer. But what do you
Yeah.
think validators such as yourself, like, what is your message to the larger community, and how can we bring more attention to smaller validators that are clearly working hard, clearly are actually successfully setting up hardware? You're excited about the future of the network. Like, how do you think we can spread that message better? And
Yeah. I mean, my hope is over time, we the validators grow and it becomes more decentralized.
yeah,
I'm sort of okay with the current state of things. I'm actually looking at the thing over here and kind of,
the list.
because the people who are at the highest have been really involved in the, they deserve to be. And I
Sure.
think that, and so I'm okay with that. I think that what I'm hoping is that people start, I've talked to people who, have said, oh, cool. Like, I'd like to redelegate, but they're like, I got to figure out how to do that. A lot of them just put all their money in with one person and they don't really know. I think that that'll come. I think that what I want people to think is, okay, I trust this person enough so that I think that they're going to work hard and make sure that they stay online. And they're not going to double sign or do anything stupid. And that's about like, being smart about key management.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I've been learning a lot about and trying to thinking about newer ways to do that properly, whether it's using like an HSM solution or something like that. Sorry. Yeah. Did I say that right? Key hardware key management, HKM. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, to keep it off the same machine that you're running your validator on, so it's not just a JSON file, but is actually sort of separated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that. But then what I want people to think, is who's adding value to this, who's helping this grow, and who's doing a good job at that, and I think that that's gonna, it should take care of itself. I think if people think that way, if people, have the right mentality, which is the way I see it. What is making my currency? What is making the value of Secret go up?
Sure.
And how can I reward the people who are helping with that? Yeah.
Well, one thing I've talked to with some validators is everyone knows when we switch back to mainnet, like SGX is going to be more expensive to have that all properly configured. So it's like it could become where smaller validators can only afford a certain commission rate versus some of your larger players. And that can become an interesting race where, because these larger players can offer lower commission rates, someone who isn't truly invested in the whole ecosystem is just like smaller commission, or it's a less of a commission rate. So I'm just giving you everything. No questions asked. Don't even think about like decentralizing into a larger community. So while I agree with you that right now the people that are on top totally deserve it, my personal fear as a validator is as the ecosystem evolves, it could become a bit of a who can sustain a certain amount of return versus someone else. And we see that in a lot of other ecosystems. So
a race to the bottom, you're saying?
Right. It's a race. Yeah. It's a race to the bottom. And so I think that's why it's really important that we have these discussions with smaller validators and that the larger community can see that, like, yeah, things are working great right now. A couple months from now, like, don't forget the smaller validators, because it's a really important part of creating a sustainable network, especially with the Binances of the world coming in with a massive amount of users at some point. There's going to be a lot of people floating around. So
I hear you. I'm thinking that, it's something, it's definitely something to be concerned about. I think that I lost my train of thought.
Something to be concerned about, with just the larger validators.
With larger validators coming in. I think that I think we also need, it's a two-way street. That's what I was going to say. I think smaller validators need to go out there and invest and say, I'm going to show people, I'm going to demonstrate to them why the people at the top are you're no more secure with that. Here's what I've built. Go figure out how much I'm spending on this. You know what I mean? And accept the fact that this isn't a free thing to do, and I'm doing something really good for the system.
Right.
And and frankly, like, spread out your stake. You know what I mean? That's just like, it just feels like it's kind of a no-brainer. And honestly, that's also about having the tools to do that efficiently and easy.
Yep.
You know, and I think that, I'm not sure if the new proposal, if for the Kepler wallet, if that'll make that easier.
Kind of MetaMask experience that they're hoping to implement. Yeah.
I don't know if that's related, or if Puzzle is just going to improve to the point where you can, we'll have to ask secret nodes and
sure.
About that. But if we can get Puzzle to the point where it's like, I can pull all my money out, I can redelegate it to everyone, I can distribute it very easily, I think that'll help a lot as well. And so I'm hoping to see some people focusing on that.
Sure. Well, Sandy, it's been an awesome discussion. Just so you guys know, Stake or Die is the name of the node. So just to kind of give you your last kind of open mic moment where you get to look into the camera, talk to the community and the audience. This is your open mic moment. You can say anything you want here to the larger secret network community.
Sure. I mean, I guess, like, thanks to everyone. I've found the community to be extremely inclusive, inviting, open to me saying dumb things early on and teaching me. And I'm trying to pay that back. And, I think that there's something special going on here where it doesn't feel, it feels different than other communities. And I think we should all work hard to hold on to that as much as we can. And I think that the product itself will also help a lot in that regard. But yeah, besides that, I don't know, I'm trying to bring in a little bit of levity as well. I named my validator after in the video game 720 back in the day, the arcade game where you were riding your skateboard around, and then the bees would chase you and it would say skate or die. I thought that was kind of funny, and that I just mixed the T and the K. I want to be to make this an enjoyable thing and fun for me as well as other people, and so I'm hoping that people appreciate that. But yeah, that's about it.
Sure. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been an honor chatting with you, and we'll have link to your node address below in the description. And if you have a website or anything else you want us to point us to, we'll drop that in there. The goal of the show is to really be as inclusive as possible with all of our validators, and just really fostering a discussion. So Sandy, if you know anyone who wants to come on the show, someone that Secure Secrets doesn't like, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm also planning to maybe have in the future some sort of open forum where we have not just 2 validators on a call, but have 4 or 5, right? And just kind of
panel discussion.
Just kind of riff with it a little bit, see what we can talk about, because there's just so many brilliant minds in this community, and everyone's stories are so unique. Even as you walked me through, going all the way back to like 2010 and arriving where you are today, there's just everyone has so much value and context to add to the space. So thank you.
And there's also interesting disagreements, and people see things different ways, and people are opinionated, and I think there's some fireworks that you'll get from that. All in humor though. I mean, people are, but I think, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to the show as it progresses.
Well, that's the end of episode 2, guys, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching this episode of Community Unveiled, Meeting the Secret Validators. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. We'll be happy to get back to you. Here at Secure Secrets, we value community, privacy as a human right, transparency as the key to unlocking the full value of a decentralized community, and finally, continuous growth through teamwork and collaboration.